So, welcome to the Saturday morning call. It's evening in the United States, on Friday evening, and we have a couple of questions that we're going to talk about today. Um, the first question had to do with I want everybody to tell me all the various different kinds of wholesome thoughts that they might have. And the answer to that would be think of a dollar bill, okay? How many different kinds of dollar bills does the American government, they change them every 10 years or so, but when they print, they're identical. Is that correct? And there's a lot of them. And then occasionally they will change it, okay? So this is actually kind of way that we want to hold some thoughts. We don't have to have a great variety of thoughts. Just like we don't have to have a great variety of dollar bills. We just want a bunch of them. In fact, the whole point about the repetitive. So you might, in fact, find one and kind of make it, as they say, a mantra. Well, everything is all right after all. You could even go to the Coca-Cola commercial. I saw somebody drinking a Coca-Cola a minute ago, Santiago. And that would be, it's a small world after all, because it's only as big as I can see. You see, we have the idea that, in fact, the whole world is great, big, wide, maybe wonderful, but it's out of sight. We can't see it. It's not around. But the real world is right here in front of us. And so we can say something like, wow, this is nice. This being everything. Everything is okay. Everything is fine. Not a problem in the world. So you can have two or three and just say those over and over and over again. David, where'd you go? You turned your camera off, I guess. All right. So let's keep going with just a few. You don't need a bunch of them, but you'll think of some on your own. And when you do, you could start using that one and put it into your little club. Like another way of thinking about it is that when the plumber comes to your house, he brings his tool bag. His tool bag is not, or maybe his truck, but he does not bring all of the tools that there are on his truck, nor does he bring all the tools on his truck into the house. He only brings the ones that are the most useful most of the time. And so this is the way that we can figure out about what kind of wholesome thoughts there are, so long as they are wholesome. And so we repeat them over and over and over again. Everything is all right. Everything is fine. Not a problem in the world. So there's three of them right there. So you can go with just those three. And then later you can begin to change that to something like, wow, I can do this. Wow, everything really is great. And start putting that winner's attitude into it and start having some winner's thoughts that I can do this. Everything is all right. Everything is fine. Not a problem in the world. And we keep going just with a few thoughts over and over and over again. Because when we stop with those, we'll start wandering into, well, maybe this is wholesome and maybe it's not. And then we're into labeling unwholesome thoughts as wholesome. And then we go to the point that we don't care anymore. And then we go off into really bad things. So it's better to actually make sure that we know what a wholesome thought is, rather than having a huge variety of wholesome thoughts. And in fact, there really is a huge variety of wholesome thoughts. Going back to the plumber, how many different kind of wrenches are there? You know, there's hawkbills, there's vice grips, there's needle nose, there's just all kinds of different ones. But they generally, we only need one of them, even though there's a wide variety of them. So this is a way of thinking about it. So the other question is that Ivan was asking the question of not sure. In fact, I didn't know that Ajahn Chah had used that term, because I heard it mostly from Ajahn Po, and maybe Ajahn Po picked it up from Ajahn Chah or vice versa. But it has a really beautiful, valuable quality to it in several different respects. One of them is that when, and this happens to beginners a lot, the actual teachings of the Buddha is very simple. There's a wide variety of ways to look at it, just like the wholesome thoughts. The actual teachings of the Buddha is actually very, very small. There's not much to it. But look at the fact that the Tripitaka is an entire bookcase full of books. Well, not hundreds, but dozens and dozens of books. And then look at all of the stuff that's been published about Buddhism since then. Literally tens of thousands of books, and many of them have various things in it, but some of them, some Dhamma books, don't even have the essentials. Now, that issue about not sure has the quality of, it's okay that you don't know about all kinds of things, that we only need to make sure that we know the essentials. Okay, just enough. So when Ajahn Chah says not sure, he's inviting people to stop asking tens of thousands of different questions. And he's also inviting people to come out of the doubt. Now, our society actually teaches us in many, many different ways that you're supposed to know the answer. An example of that would be when you go on a job interview. And I have seen, in fact, there's actually jokes about it, that the interviewer is so unskilled at interviewing that he will have a list of questions that he's supposed to ask. And they've got the answers written down with the questions, so that if the person who is being interviewed doesn't know the answer, he gets an X mark. He gets a demerit. Another place that happens is in school. How many of you have been in school and had to take a test, and you're supposed to know the answer, right? How many of them actually, of those tests, actually put really essential things on that test? Nobody has really essential things on the test. An example of that would be in, let us say, a history class studying ancient Roman history. The first question that should be at the top of every test is it really necessary for us to know Roman history? Because the answer is no, we don't need to know Roman history. This class is irrelevant. But somebody wants to teach the class to make a living. And some people are curious and interested in it. And in fact, that's the only reason to take a class in ancient Roman history, is because it's interesting. Then, in fact, I have been in classes that I have quit because after I got in the class, I figured out that this is not interesting enough for me to take this class. I remember one specifically where the teacher, after the class was over and he saw me in the call, he called me really, really rude because I told him, I said in front of the classes, is that this is not interesting stuff that you're going to be teaching us. And so I walked out of the class. His happened to have been ancient Chinese history. I'm more interested in ancient Chinese history now than I was when I was 20 or so. So this is the whole point about not important or not sure. Another thing is that when we begin to form opinions, how many opinions do you have, Ivan? You have opinions about the U.S. government. You have opinions about politicians. You have opinions about the Malaysian government. You have opinions about politicians. You have opinions about cities. You have opinions about the people in that city, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How many tens of thousands of opinions do we carry? And the reality is that we're really not sure. That's why we call it an opinion. We don't know. And so whenever you have an opinion about something, especially if you're about to let it out in public, maybe on Reddit or running our mouth in the town square or whatever like that, be sure to remember that you may be wrong, that we're actually not sure about all of that. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why people put in my humble opinion, and generally then they'll give an opinion that's not humble at all. A much better thing to say would be, I'm not sure about this. And so begin to live our lives as if we're not sure about things, especially in the sense that it doesn't matter that we're not sure about things. That it's really okay to not be sure about anything. In fact, that's kind of important to not be sure about anything, because any and everything can change. Sometimes dramatically. The political world in the United States has just gone through a major change. When Biden dropped out and Harris took over, wow, that was a sea change. Really big thing. Caught the Republicans quite off guard because they were sure that they had the election in the bag. So that's the whole point is that if you're sure about something and then be proven wrong about it, is that going to make you feel bad? Mikey, when you're caught actually having a wrong opinion that you were sure about something and then you found out that it wasn't true, how did you feel?
Like I'm not an expert.
Many people will feel bad. Many people will feel, oh, poor me, I was wrong. Other people, in fact, older people, and the older we get, the more likely that we're doing is that we'll hold our sure opinion so strongly that even in the face of evidence, we'll still hold that opinion. Even when we're proven wrong. Why? Because we're sure. And so the point is that let's not be sure about anything, because if we're not sure about anything, then we can actually change our opinion. Now, to go slightly off in a different direction, there are a whole lot of people out there in the world that are sure about the things that they know about Buddhism. Some of them are so sure that they're willing to write a book about it. Some of them are so sure that they actually want to sell it. Okay? So if we have a whole lot of opinions about something, then when we're actually taught what's real, we're often not going to accept what's real, because we want to keep our opinions. I mean, after all, they're my opinions. It's my knowledge. How dare reality challenge my knowledge? And so this is a major teaching that Ajahn Chah is giving out, is let's not be sure about stuff. Let's come out of a questioning mind and just be happy and settled, even when we don't know. Now, back to that point about the Buddhism, and so many people are sure of it. Let's put something in there in perspective that's very, very valuable, and that is that there is a lot of stuff within the teachings of Buddhism that are not liberating. Now, this point about not sure, that's actually liberating. It liberates us from having to know anything. It liberates us from having to have bad feelings when we're proven wrong. So this is a really, really valuable point because it's liberating. But a lot of Buddhism actually is just opinions, and these opinions are widespread and nobody knows. In fact, the best example of that would be what is called rebirth and reincarnation, and they're almost always put together. And I know of literally, I know dozens of personal people, but I assume based upon the literature and everything like that, that there are literally millions and millions and millions of people just in India alone who believe in reincarnation. And yet the reality is that nobody is sure. Nobody's sure about it, not sure. And yet it's holding that opinion. Now, here's an important point, is that whether you believe in rebirth or reincarnation, it's not liberating. Whether you believe it to be true or to believe it to not be true, it's not liberating. But in fact, it might be true. I'm not sure. I haven't died yet. I tell you what, after I die, if I'm alive, if I'm still around, and I still have consciousness after I'm dead, if I get reborn or if I'm reincarnated, I'll send you all an email. Have you ever heard of Houdini? Yeah, Houdini. He was a major player in the early part of the 20th century, and he would do all kinds of stunts. But in fact, if he was alive during the time of Las Vegas having magic shows, he would be the top biller. And he would do things like get himself locked up in a chest and then thrown into a river. And he'd get out of that chest and swim someplace else and pop up 100 yards or a long distance away, and then wave at people who were looking for where he would should have come up, which is where the chest was thrown into the river. And he also was the guy who invented the glass case, to where he's put head first into the glass case filled with water. And then they put the shroud over it, and he gets out of that glass case before he suffocates. So this is the kind of prestidigitation that he was doing, and that he actually was looking for what was real about it, or is everything phony, sleight of hand, doing things that people don't see you do, and so they make assumptions about something else. One of the examples I see on YouTube now is that they have sponge balls that can be tightened up into a very, very small place. And they'll put a whole bunch of these in their hand, and then they'll put them in a bowl and put the bowl down. And when you open the whole bowl is full of these sponge balls, because after they're not tight anymore, they expand, right? And so this is a sleight of hand kind of maneuver. Well, Houdini, he was tired of that. And so he started to look for what was real. And one of the things that he picked on was seances. Now, seances were actually quite popular in the United States from the 1840s up until about the 1930s. And they had huge numbers of seances all over the place. Many of them made headlines in newspapers because people could talk to the dead and things like that. And so Houdini decided that he was going to do some investigation, and he started to go to these seances and prove the people wrong. Now, there was one group, two sisters, who were very, very famous at what they were doing because they didn't show any sign of movement at all in the room, and they didn't seem to have any accomplices, but they could make old bottles rattle and all kinds of things happen in the room. And one time Houdini noticed that when this woman got up from her chair, she walked barefoot, but when she was back sitting down in the chair, she would put her feet back into the slippers. And that was a major clue. And so what he did was he was able to get into the room when she wasn't in there and found that both shoes were wired so that she could move the left foot up, and one thing would happen. She could move the right heel up, something else would happen, etc., like that. And that's how she was able to get away with having these seances. And when he started to make a great big show of this, what happened? Seances fell out of favor. Seances don't happen anymore, but in the 1920s, 1930s, they were very, very common until he proved them in great press that they were all frauds. Now, in India, I hear reports on a regular basis that this child can remember things that happened before he was born that can be proven to be true. Therefore, that proves that that child was reborn. No, it doesn't. He could have been coached. We don't know what was going on. So there's absolutely no evidence of rebirth and reincarnation. There's also no evidence of a whole lot of other stuff that is taught as the teachings of the Buddha. Where in fact, this is the difference then, and I make the differences between what is the teaching of the Buddha and what is Buddhism. The teaching of the Buddha is very, very tiny, very, very small, and Buddhism is vast. All kinds of stuff is in Buddhism, but the actual teaching of the Buddha is small. Now, what's the difference? The difference is in the vast Buddhism is not liberating, but the teachings of the Buddha are liberating. And let me give you an example of what we're talking about here. The pharmaceutical industry, mostly in the United States, but worldwide, have research departments that come up with new pills on a regular basis. They have to. Even if the old pills work just fine, they want to come out with some new whoop-de-doo pill to get people to buy them. The same thing is true with software. They keep coming up with new software updates, a new improved model, so that they can get people to buy the new improved model. For years, the automobile industry came out with a new car every year. And it was really important, the difference between a 1957 and a 1958 Chevrolet. They were completely different. Now you see Tesla has had the same cars. They maybe make a new one here and discontinue another one. But when they have one, they don't necessarily put a model year on it because even though they're improving the car right along, they don't make this big thing about it. So back to the pharmaceutical industry, and this is the important point. All the medicines are intended to make people improve, to make them feel better, to make them adjust to their disease, but the pharmaceutical industry does not want to make medicines that cure the disease. They don't want to cure the disease. They want you to stay sick, so you need their medicine. But if you have medicine that works, you don't need it anymore. Okay? And a really, really good example of that is that if we can have wholesome thoughts are actually a medicine to cure us from unwholesome thoughts. But if you don't have unwholesome thoughts anymore, you don't need to keep taking the medicine. The same thing is true about a Wat and staying a monk. That in fact, most Wats, most facilities, temples, etc., like that, is very, very much like a hospital. And many, many of the people who come to a hospital, they come to the hospital sick. But if they have a cure, if they get better, then they leave the hospital. This is very true in Thailand, that most of the monks don't stay monks their whole lives long. Now, some of them can figure out that being a monk is the cure. And so those who generally leave the monkhood get enough out of it that they feel okay, and then they quit. Others will come back in and out and in and out. But the point is that you can see a Wat as kind of a hospital, and that if they're not getting the good medicine that they need, then they're not going to get cured at that hospital. But if they get the real, true, noble Dhamma, then they will get the cure. And if they do get cured, there's no reason for them to stay in the hospital anymore, unless they're going to be a doctor. And this is very much true about psychology. That many of the students that were in the same class and group that I was in Michigan back in the 1970s, all of them, or almost all of these PhD candidates and students in psychology, had been clients from their childhood. And so they knew a whole lot about psychology, but they didn't ever get cured by psychology. And so they kept taking the medicine and kept taking the medicine and getting a degree, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a PhD in psychology, and they still don't ever get cured. But if somebody really gets cured through psychology, or figures out that the medicine isn't working, then they're not going to stay in psychology. That is, in fact, one of the big reasons why people do leave Christianity, is because they figure out that it's not a cure. It's just a medicine to help people feel better. And often Christians don't even feel better when they take the medicine. All right, so let's make this main distinction is that Buddhism is medicine to help people feel better, but it's not a cure for the spiritual disease. That only the teaching of the Buddha is a cure for the spiritual disease. It leads to freedom. And so back to that point about the wholesome thoughts. The wholesome thoughts are the medicine. But that point about not sure, that's the cure. If you can go ahead, David.
Oh, thank you so much, Dhammarato. First, I want to say that your initial advice to my question was a very unexpected answer, but I see so much value in it. So thank you for telling me that I don't need to have every single item, every single wrench. I don't need to know every single medical implement out there that the average person, what they really need, I love the whole topic. The whole topic of this conversation is fabulous. Is that what we really need is the noble Dharma that's going to liberate us. And
Mhm.
my friend, that is why I come to you, because you are the wise friend who has actually given me the noble Dharma. I did not find it anywhere else. Does it mean it wasn't there? I found it once I realized what you taught me. But basically, what I'm trying to say is that your Dharma is the Dharma that you teach, excuse me, the Dharma that you teach is what is actually noble and liberating. And that is actually why I'm asking you, can we learn every single wrench out there? Because I don't want to just be the guy out there who's fixed myself. I mean, yeah, I'm doing that right now, getting a lot of fruit right now, a lot of benefit. I want to be the doctor. I want to be the master plumber. I want to be the teacher that knows all the different wrenches, all the different medical implements, because the teacher really does need to know all of that. They also know what they need to bring and what they don't need to bring, but they do need to know everything so that they can do the job, because there's a tool for every job. So
Right.
that's why I'm asking. I really want to master it. And that's why I'm asking for as many of these wholesome tools as possible, because this is what's worked, period. This is what has actually liberated me from misery and suffering and dissatisfaction, which is the main bit, dissatisfaction, and just choosing to be satisfied instead. So,
Oh,
yeah, thank you.
all right. So then the cure for the unwholesome thoughts is I'm not sure. Then, in fact, almost always unwholesome thoughts start by, well, what about this? And what about that? Oh, this house is going to fall down. I'm going to have to think about getting a new one. Oh, this house is not good enough because it's too big. I got to get a new one. Or, oh, this house is too small. I got to get a new one. This car is getting old. I've got to get a new one. No, you don't. All right. So most of these unwholesome thoughts about what needs to be done, we can actually answer those unwholesome thoughts by, not sure. I don't know. Let's try this. Let's try that. That's the way to handle it. Easily peasy. And in fact, being not sure helps a lot. Let me say this also is that Achan Po had a style of just showing up. Because of the internet, that's not possible. But at Wat Suan Mok, he was the main abbot, but he was never to be found. You couldn't find him. People would go and say, "Where is Achan Po?" And they would say, "His kuti is over there." You go over there, no, he's not at his kuti. So where is he? He was all over the place. Basically, one of the things that I know that he was doing was that he was standing in the yard of the kuti of new monks, waiting for them to figure out that he was there. He had enormous patience. I figured that out because I would look out the window, or I would go to, just something would happen and I would go, and he was standing there in the yard. I remember various kutis that I was staying at, and he would do that on occasions until I got very good. And when he didn't have to stand anymore because something would happen, some niggle I would get, something that it would occur to me, and that I would go check, and he was there. And when I could figure out that he was there, he didn't do that much anymore. Another one is that when I would be out in public someplace, standing around, there was a lot of ceremonies. We had a meal together, and there was a lot of milling around before the monk sat down or whatever like that. And he would walk up behind me and say something and then walk on. In fact, he didn't even change his stride or change his gait. He would be walking by, and as he walked past me, and he always managed to walk past me in a way where I didn't have him in my eyesight. He would come up behind me and say something and move on. And one of the things that he would say on a regular basis is, not sure. That's why I learned that phrase. It's because he drilled that into me, not sure. And then he was gone. And I'd look around and, where is he? Oh, there he is. He's gone that way. And another thing that he would come up and say behind me would be tatata. Now, tatata is Pali. Not sure is an English word, but tatata actually has the quality of here now, to be here now. He said that probably even more often than he had to not sure. So that's also another phrase that is actually a medicine that cures the illness. Because almost all of our unwholesome thoughts are about someplace else. Almost all of our unwholesome thoughts are about some other time. But when we're thinking about right here, right now, we're liberated from over there. We're liberated from the past. We're liberated from the future. If we can stay here now, just be in the present moment. What you can see, what you can hear, what's going on right now, that's liberating. So that's the real way of looking at it, is the liberation was what he was teaching. He taught a few other things, but he didn't use them so often, so I've kind of forgotten them. But I do know that those 2 points were the things that Achan Po would say the most. He didn't speak good English. He didn't need to speak good English. He was a Zen master above all things. And his Zen stick was walking past me saying, not sure. Not sure. His Zen stick was walking past saying, ta ta ta. And he seemed to have been able to have the knack of knowing just exactly when to say that. So if I was looking over yonder to see what they were doing over there, there he was saying, be here now. So these are the 2 points that we have had to make today. Is one of them is that we do not need a whole lot of wholesome thoughts. The better the wholesome thoughts would be that they are liberating us from the unwholesome thoughts. They're the medicine that cures the disease. And in fact, there was another one that he would use occasionally, and that would be the word, and in the Thai version of the Pali was sunyata, which is the same as sunyata. They use that in the Mahayana a lot, but it's actually in the Theravada. And this is one of the words that he would use. And it means there's nothing to it. There's really nothing there. That what you see is what is there, and what you think is there is not there. So what you think about it is almost always adding to reality, and the reality is that it's not there. In the sutras, one of the points that the Buddha made was, in the forest, there is no village. Except when the monk is in the forest thinking about the village, now the village is not in the forest, it's in the monk's mind. The forest itself is sunyata. It's empty. There's nothing there. So that's also a kind of a wholesome thought that you can have that's actually curative. There's nothing to it. So you're thinking about, oh, I've got a problem, I've got to go do this, and I've got to go do that. And the answer to that, nothing to it. It's not there. It's not real. We're making that stuff up. So, Ben, what do you think about this? I see you grinning and smiling from time to time.
I just imagine Ajahn Po walking past like Ninja Dharma. Don't see him.
Yeah, Ninja Dhamma. Stealth.
Yeah. Yeah, all very enlightening. Thank you, Dhammarato.
So, Andrew, you have something to say?
Not really. But yeah,
So,
it's been interesting. Been good. Good to remember that there's that you don't really know anything. Not sure.
mhm. So remember, there are two kinds of medicine. Medicines that help you feel better, maybe opioids. And then there's medicine that cures the disease. And the teaching of the Buddha is that two-step process. So first, let's get the medicine that cures the unwholesome thoughts. And then when we do that enough, when we're cured from those unwholesome thoughts, we don't need wholesome thoughts anymore. But in fact, all we need is not sure. Sunyata, tatata. Those are the real cures.
What did tatata mean again?
Pardon?
What did tatata mean again?
Tatata. Have you ever heard of the word Tathagata? The Buddha
I have
was
heard
known as Tathagata. All right. The word Tathagata means the one who is, they've got the word backwards in the translation. He has gone to the now. And maybe that's the right way to say it, because everybody else, when they see him go to the now, that's because he did not come to the now, except to those who were already in the here now. Most people are not in the here now, they're in the past. And so he goes to the here now. That's what the word means. Tathagata means to go to the here now. And that was the point about the Buddha, that he was in the here now. And so tata or tatata is the here now. It's often translated from the Old English as thusness or thisness. Or this is it. Here it is.
It reminds me of something that I saw in a talk that was posted on the Discord channel by Michael M. From Clear Mountain Monastery, and the young monk was talking about Bhikkhu Buddhadasa was asked if he could have any book to take with him on a desert island. What would he take? And he said he would just take a necklace that said, "It's like this." I don't know if you've heard that.
It's like this. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little reminder. It's not the necklace, it's the phrase. This is it.
Yeah.
Be like this. Okay, that's the actual meaning of the word tatata. Ben, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, not sure feels like a far more a place to approach things with realistic confidence, in terms of if you approach things with definitely going to work out, it's going to be great, that's like an idealistic, unrealistic form of confidence. Same with if you're pessimistic and you think, oh, it's not going to work, it's going to be horrible. Whereas not sure is like a freeing form of approach to everything. You can just do it, and not sure, maybe it'll work this way, maybe it'll work that way.
Yes, exactly. You see, the only other possibility of not sure is to have the thoughts, all this is not going to work, all things are going to fall apart, all this is no good. Or the other side, the other extreme is, oh, this is going to be great. Oh, we're going to win this thing. Oh, we're going to have this election. Oh, I'm going to be president. The reality is, we don't know, not sure. This, in fact, comes from the point that the Buddha has made is that nobody knows the future. And one of the points about the future is we do not know about how action is going to turn out. You know, in Hinduism, they talk about it this way, but it's also there in Christianity. They have heaven and hell in Christianity. And in the Hindu, they have, if you, the law of karma is that good action gives good results and bad action gives bad results. And the Buddha says almost all action gives mixed results, but you don't know what those are going to be. But in fact, that uncertainty, that's what gambling is all about. We gamble because we're hoping that it's going to be this way, but we actually don't know. They talk about rigging the system. Well, we don't know. Stay with what you do know, but don't stay with what you know because it's old, but keep investigating. Only know what you can see right now, because when you turn your head, Ajahn Po may come by. Things are changing. And Nietzsche, what does Zen call it? Everything is up to flux, and we don't know anything, especially anything about the future. We don't know how the election is going to turn out. We don't know what the value of the dollar is going to be. We don't know where they're going to find gold. We don't know when I'm going to die. We just don't hardly know anything that's important. And so staying with not sure, what a liberation that is. Whew. Takes all the pressure off. What if it could go good? What if it could go bad? Not sure. What are they doing over there? What happened back then? Well, not sure. Well, what's going to happen with the space race? It didn't turn out the way anybody thought it was going to come out, now did it? Let's see. Alexander, I see you hiding up there in the corner of the screen here. What's happening?
Not a lot, just listening.
You have anything to say?
No, thank you.
Not sure. Anna, do you have anything to say? Any comments? It's good to see you, by the way, again. Can you turn your mic on?
Yes, hello, Dhammarato. Thank
Yeah.
you for
Yeah, we don't know. Nothing's for sure. Let's see, who's there? Does anybody else have any comments? Anything to say?
Dhammarato, I'm not sure if you can hear me. Is it still robotic?
Say again, Ivan?
No, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'll keep it short. But I find not sure to be so beautiful because it keeps the mind flexible. Because the moment we form a conclusion fast, it's not flexible. And that means stagnation. It cannot grow. It cannot adapt. That's all I want to say.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's why it's such a powerful teaching from some of these noble teachers, Achan Cha and Achan Po. Interesting, they use the same phrase, not sure. So keep that one.
Keeps the mind empty.
Keeps the mind empty. That's right.
I just wanted to say one thing to Ivan in particular. Buddy, you are smiling and shaking your head, and like I've been listening to you on the other Dharma talks, you know, and like your attitude has just become the winner's attitude so much more. And I'm just saying, like, you're getting it, brother. Congratulations. Like, you're doing it. I'm so happy for you. Way to go.
I am too. I gotta give the thumbs up on that one, and second your motion, David. Yeah, Ivan's been around a while, and he used to ask a lot of really stupid questions. But now that he realized that those questions were not important anymore, that he's not sure, and life becomes a joy when we're here now, when everything is empty, and when we're not sure. Those are the actual liberations of the Buddha. Noting methods and scanning of the body, all of that stuff is medicine, but it's not the cure. The real cure is not sure. Be here now, in the present moment. Everything is empty. Those are really liberating points. Santiago, you got something?
Yeah, I got something to say. I've been through a lot of things this week that would have made me lose my shit. Like, absolutely, I would have lost my shit. But I already did that. That I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't have to know what's gonna happen. It doesn't matter, you know. I lost this thing, and you know, who knows? Could be good, could be bad, could be nothing. What's gonna come out of it, I don't know. I'll talk to this person. Maybe they like me. Maybe they don't. That doesn't matter. Either way. And then I can just notice how it starts flowing a whole lot better. Now I'm not staying stuck in this myself sort of mirror bullshit. Instead, I see somebody and I don't have to think about some response that I have to give to like avoid a misunderstanding or try to garner attention or be liked or anything like that. Just, you know, I laugh, I look people in the eye, don't feel shy, and then I say what I gotta say, and that's it. And that's quite a difference for me because I've not experienced that in 25 years of my life. I've been taught my whole life to be anxious about everything. Be anxious about this. You don't know enough. You gotta go get the answers. And nah, it's
No,
just
we don't. That's the whole point is that getting the answers to our questions is not liberating.
you're right.
It just puts us in the position of wanting to know more. The guy who's read 10 books, he's still not liberated. He reads 20. He's still not liberated. He reads 100. He reads the whole library and he's still not liberated. That's what I put under the phrase of looking for love in all the wrong places. In that sense, is looking for information. We think that we'll finally find enough information to be satisfied. The fact is that we can find satisfaction in sunyata, nothing to it. And I don't know, not sure. Everything that we need is right here, right now. All we have to do is breathe.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
It's against all the other teachings,
but
it's actually the really rational point of view.
Yeah. No, I mean, of course it's not crazy, but it's like crazy in the sense that it's not about getting things. It's about letting go. Like the more you're letting go, the further on the less suffering you're going to have.
Yes, people who carry a heavy load don't move much. People who carry a heavy load are burdened. The really, really wise plumber only takes a few tools into the house with him. Don't need much. Everything is already there. So does anybody else have any statements? Let's see who's hidden behind that. Basil. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm just enjoying the Dharma talk that you're sharing. No questions.
Do you have any comments? Anything to say?
No, just enjoying your Dharma talk.
Jonesy, do you have anything to say? Nope. All right. How about you, Lars? You have any final comments?
No. Can't think of anything.
Okay. So, Mikey, why don't you take this thing home?
Yes, thank you everyone for being here today, and thank you for giving the talk, Dhammarato. When they say the sky is falling, we can just say, not sure.
Not
It
sure.
may just be a little rain. Yeah, so go check out opensangafoundation.org. And also, if anybody here or anybody listening to this call would like to volunteer for Open Sangha, please let me know. We're always open to having more people come on board. We've had one of our friends, Aurelian, do a logo redesign recently that came out really nice. Some people have been helping with YouTube thumbnails. There's all sorts of ways to help and volunteer with bug testing and things of this nature. So if you have any skills that you think you might want to offer, or if you want to learn how to do some of these things, we can show you. So, doing this sort of volunteering helps one keep one's mind in the Dhamma. Same way someone might sweep a lot and keep their mind with the sweeping.
Yes, one thing is that we have a number of videos that have been done where people have commented that they like something at a particular point in time, and they put the timestamp in the comment. And we've got about 10 or so of those that would make really good shorts. So if anybody's interested in doing a short, to take a section out of a long talk, hour-long talk, and put it into 2 minutes, just taking a short clip, that would take somebody a couple of days or so, a couple of hours or so of time. So if you want to do some video editing, that would be one of the things that we can do.
Yeah, and I could also show you how to do video editing. There's a free program out there. I do it here sometimes on this laptop, but it's very slow, so it's not as possible for me to do video shorts here. But yeah, if anybody would like to do that, it'd be greatly appreciated. We also would like to do some videos for Open Sangha Foundation as well. So anyways, thank you everyone for being here today, and thanks again, Dhammarato. Have a good one.
All right. So we'll go ahead and finish up now. Thank you all for being here. This has been a marvelous talk. Nothing to it.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye, folks.